Okay. All right. So my name is Ruthie, and I'm here today to talk to y'all about how you can use ChatGPT to streamline your job search. So just a quick review of our agenda today. I'll introduce myself and share a little bit about talent career coaching. We'll talk about why it's important to learn AI, what the benefit is. I'll give some tips for using ChatGPT effectively. And then we'll go over several different use cases for how you can use ChatGPT in your job search. I'll make sure to save time for Q&A. So this is going to go at a rapid clip today. Um, but as I go along, please feel free to put questions in the chat. Brandy is here behind the scenes. She'll be monitoring the chat. If I see questions as they come up, I love answering things kind of as I go. So I will keep an eye on the chat as well, and we'll make sure to get everything answered during the Q&A at the end. And then at the very end, we do have a special offer for folks who are joining us on the webinar today. Okay, so real quick, just an introduction to who's here from Talent Career Coaching today. So my name is Ruthie, and I am a career coach. I really love working with professionals to build confidence, to clarify their strengths, and to take aligned action, really thinking about the impact we could have, how the world, I think, could truly be a better place if we were all doing work that really filled our cup. So that's a big part of what motivates me as a career coach. Brandy, you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Brandy. I am the owner here at Talent Career Coaching. I'm working behind the scenes from home today. I coach barrier breakers. So if you're someone who doesn't often get a seat at the table, or if you're like myself, first generation college student, you're my people. I love helping you find your value and find your place within whatever career field you have. So I'll be behind the scenes. If you've got questions, shoot me a message in the chat. I'll also be monitoring Q&A. But Ruthie is the expert here. I'm excited to learn about this as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Brandy. And then just a quick intro to Talent Career Coaching. So we are a collective of coaches based in Portland, the Portland area in Vancouver, Washington, but we do serve clients across the US and Canada. We have coaching services for all different stages of your career. So whether you are an early career professional, trying to figure out what the heck you're doing with your life, someone who's mid-career and just feels like things, could be better, that like there might be something else out there for you. Whether you're a manager, you're suffering from burnout, you're someone who is an established leader and wants to strategize about their career, we've got someone for you on our team. And we know that your career is a big life focus, and we don't think that you should have to navigate these, big transitions and decisions alone, that you can do this with good support from a team. So, feel free to check out our website. We'll share more information at the end, but lots of free resources, education. Brandy has a new podcast that folks can check out. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Okay, so I would love to hear from folks in the chat. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being I know nothing about AI, this terrifies me. I'm so afraid of using this tool. 5 being I'm really confident. I'm actively already using this in my job search. Where do you fall on that scale? So scale of 1 to 5, 1, I'm new, 5, I'm more experienced. Let us know where you're at. Okay, so it looks like Mari's a 2, Jen shared 3. So a couple folks who are feeling that they're a little bit newer to using AI in their job search. So we have a couple 1s, a 3 or a 4. So one of the things I want to point out before we get started is AI is like AI literacy and the ability to use these tools is the number one in demand skill right now in 2025. So this was from LinkedIn, a big LinkedIn survey that just came out called Skills on the Rise. This just came out in March of 2025. So as you are thinking about using AI, right? This is also strategic for your career, okay? When we think about AI literacy and learning these skills as a feature of your job search, it's also two birds with one stone, right? Because you're gaining valuable skills. Employers are looking for these skills in the workplace, okay? So this 2024 annual report that came out from Microsoft and LinkedIn, 66% of leaders say they won't hire someone without AI skills. Okay. 71% said they'd rather hire someone less experienced who has AI skills compared to someone with more experience who's not familiar with AI. And 77% of leaders said that entry-level professionals can actually be given more responsibility if they come in with those AI skills. So, using AI in your job search teaches you valuable skills at the same time as it helps you streamline the process. Okay. So, definitely there's some great justification for starting to get out here and practice using these tools. And I'm going to focus on ChatGPT today. This is kind of like the original, kind of most well-known tool that's out there. It's the one that I'm most familiar with, but there are plenty. There are so many different ones to explore. So I've listed here just kind of like five that are pretty well known. But I think, AI is such a booming, feature of the tech industry right now that more and more tools are being created all the time. There's lots of freemium tools, so like tools that have a free tier and then also paid features. There's lots of freemium tools that are all about helping people with your job search, where they help create kind of streamlined resumes, tailored things. They help you with kind of tracking your job search. So if you just do kind of like a simple search online for tools with your job search, there's plenty out there to explore. Um, and then there's like slight differences between them. So ChatGPT and Claude are both really good for writing. They're the best for that. Google's Gemini can be great if you're already, like someone who's an avid Google user. Perplexity is one that's really good for doing kind of deeper research. And then Kick Resume AI is one of the more well-known kind of resume building tools. I saw Michael put in the chat, you're using Hunter. Yeah, Hunter is a great tool. They have sort of like a job tracking document that's really helpful, and then ways where you can kind of streamline and customize your resume and cover letter for the different positions you're applying for. Teal is another one. I'll reference them a little later on in this presentation, but Teal is another one similar to Hunter that I've known some job seekers to use that one. So while I'm teaching kind of like ChatGPT focus today, a lot of this is applicable across all of these tools. So don't hesitate to explore, and also know that you're going to get different content, slightly different content from each chatbot that you use. So it could be valuable to kind of crowdsource information and input the same prompts into different chatbots and kind of and like then refine your whatever content you're creating based on the output from different AI. Okay, so I'm curious for folks who are on the call, how have you used AI to help your job search so far? Go ahead and put it in the chat. What are the ways that you're using these tools already that you've found useful? I know for me, a couple of things that I do when I'm job hunting or applying, I definitely use ChatGPT to help me pull out keywords, and we'll talk about that, kind of identify relevant skills that I should be highlighting across, my resume, in my LinkedIn. Um, I've also used AI to help write content. I'm someone who suffers from a lot of writer's block when I have to do things like LinkedIn about section or writing a cover letter, and I've used AI in that context as well. So Michael's sharing that you've used AI to condense long form achievement summaries or annual reviews into concise bullets for my resume. That's awesome, right? So it can be so helpful when we are trying to boil down everything about us professionally, that's relevant to include on a resume. AI is a great tool for helping us make things more concise. Um, Mari says they haven't used it to help with job searching. I've only used it to help write cover letters. Okay. Jen, the base cover letter, kind of like a template, brainstorming job titles, using it for elevator pitch and researching companies, also generating interview questions. Yeah, these are all great examples. We're going to go over some of them today. Um, oh, Michael, another one. Create a table to identify top 50 companies that are hiring in my field, adding contacts and websites where possible. Amazing. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about how you can ask it to the output that it generates. You can create tables and other really useful tools like that. Awesome. Okay, so a couple tips before we get started. In general, the more specific you are about what you're asking for, the better your response. Okay. So these tools, they're blank slates. Generally, they're gonna follow your lead based on the information that you're providing. And it is totally like that phrase, garbage in, garbage out. It applies here. So the more specific you can get with your prompt, the better. And I'll give you kind of like the breakdown of an effective prompt in a couple slides. The other thing I would recommend is start a new chat for each topic. I'm actually going to show you my chat GPT in just a second so you can actually look at what I mean by that. But if you are using chat GPT to help you with your LinkedIn, and then you're switching over to help with your resume, and then you're using it to generate some interview prep, go ahead and start a new chat for each thing because then it'll be easier for you to reference that later on. And it also helps the AI kind of keep those things separate. Breaking each project into smaller chunks. So instead of saying like, customize my entire resume, go section by section. Start with your resume summary, then go into your skills section, then go into your experience section, right? And have the tool help you on each of those smaller pieces. You're going to get more effective content created for you with that like smaller focus. Um, don't be afraid to share examples of things that you would like ChatGPT to mimic. And I'll show you in just a second how you can provide custom instructions to ChatGPT. Something I hear often from folks is like one of the reasons that they hesitate to use AI is because of that kind of like it sounds generic, right? It doesn't sound like me. So there's things that you can do to actually train the chatbots to like talk more like you, to use your voice to kind of approach things the way that you would. Um, One of the ways you can do that is, yeah, share examples of things that you've written that you really like. So if you feel like you have some really great examples of cover letters you've written in the past, put that in there and ask ChatGPT to remember it for later. These tools are conversational. So if you're not getting the results that you want, ask it again. Say, hey, I like this one part of that you just generated, but for this, I'm thinking about something different. Can you try again? And give it more specific instructions if that's what's needed. But you can kind of go back and forth. That's what these like the language learning models, they're developed to kind of have a conversation with you. So ask again or iterate, and get the result that you want. And yeah, we'll go over custom instructions in just a second. Okay, a couple of things to avoid, right? There are privacy concerns, okay? Um, these models are being trained using information as that people share as they are like using ChatGPT, right? That's training the model to get better and better with its responses. Um, so one of the things just to be aware of is that you should not share any personally identifiable information or anything confidential when you are using these tools. So for me, when I'm, having it look over my resume, I'll copy the body of my resume without my contact information at the top. Okay. When I'm doing something with a client, if there's something where, we'll make sure that we take their name out if that's ever applicable or the names of other people. But yeah, for sure, don't share any confidential information. Never ask it stuff that has like financial information in it, passwords, anything like that, because you don't know where that data is being used. The other thing I'll say is don't use ChatGPT to start from scratch. Okay. So, if you say, this goes back to the garbage in, garbage out. If you say, hey, ChatGPT, write me a resume for a project management position, and sure, it'll generate a resume, but that resume is not going to be connected to you in any way, right? It's not going to be a useful tool for you. So we'll go through this in more detail in a bit, but it's much better if you can give ChatGPT something to refine rather than having it create something from scratch, right? Use this to optimize what you've already created. Always double check information. Uh, these chatbots will just make things up, right? Like if you're asking it to generate resume bullet points that focus on quantifiable achievements, it's possible that it's just going to spit something out that is just not true at all about you. So always double check the information it's providing. You can use that again as like a jumping off point to input information that's actually true about you, and then proofread, right? So, absolutely do not just generate, like ask it to spit out a cover letter and then send that thing off without reading over it. Just as it's always true when you're creating resumes, when you're creating cover letters, take some time, read over the thing again, have someone else put their eyes on that thing to really make sure that what you're saying aligns with the job that you're applying for. I know when people get busy churning out applications, it can be hard to keep track of what you're sending where. It's so important to make a good first impression. So proofread, make sure you got the right company name in the right place on the right thing. And that is dependent on like your human eyes, not just relying on this chatbot to create things for you. Okay, a real quick review of writing effective prompts. So, this is an example I pulled from HubSpot, the context, task, instructions, and then clarify and refine. There are many different types of structure for how to write AI prompts. In general, the context, it's important to give it kind of context and task and give clear instructions. But depending on the output that you're looking for, you might want to structure this a certain way. One thing that's cool is you can actually use ChatGPT and ask it, what is an effective prompt to input for XYZ, right? So if you are creating, content to post on your LinkedIn, you might be prompting it differently than if you are, using it to generate like the speech you're going to give as part of a presentation, right? Um, and you can actually use the tool to help you use the tool better. But this is an example of writing an AI, like an effective prompt where this is for someone's LinkedIn about section. Okay. So giving the tool the context that they're a career coach, they're helping this person update their profile. ChatGPT's task in this context is to write a new LinkedIn About section, and you're sharing the goal of that About section. Instructions, right? Clear, like I want you to write in first person. I want you to include their background, their recent transition, the fact that they want purpose-driven work. Start with this, summarize this, keep it under this many words, right? So the more specific you can be with your instructions here, the better the result is that you're going to get on the back end. Again, share as much kind of like information as you can to help this tool create the most effective output for you. So in this case, it would be copying the job seeker's resume, and then checking for understanding with the chatbot. Okay. It will let you know if it's missing information or if there's something else that could help it, do its job more effectively. So context, task, instructions, clarify. Okay. Okay. So now I know there's lots of talking here, lots of stuff on the screen. So I'm going to jump back and forth between presenting and actually taking you over to ChatGPT to check out a couple of things. One of the things that I absolutely love to do is to use ChatGPT to think about possible job titles. So often people are experiencing analysis paralysis. I have clients who are just like, I don't know, there's so many different options out there. Like, I have no idea where to start. And ChatGPT is a great place to just be like, what's out there and what are the job titles that might be a good fit? Okay. So this is the prompt that I like to use where you go through and you're giving it context about who you are, what your background is, different skills that you have, things you care about, what's important to you, like at work and what you value in an employer, and then use that to generate some different industries and job titles. So I actually have this. Let me copy this. I went through and did this ahead of time, just for someone who's a project manager and they have a background, their education is they have a degree in environmental science. Here are some of their hard skills like data analysis and agile methodology. I put some soft skills in there. They value things like work-life balance. They want transparent communication. Put some ideal kind of elements of their job, like they want to work with a big team, they want lots of variety. And then let's see what ChatGPT spits out for us as far as potential job titles to explore. So things like, you know, it's explaining why it's a fit, right? This person has a background in environmental science and project management experience and a passion for human rights. So things kind of getting involved with corporate sustainability, things like that, or taking it in the direction of working for more of like a nonprofit, right? As a program manager, someone who wants to be involved with kind of this technical side of things, looking at renewable energy or clean tech, right? So it's generating all these different ideas of directions that someone might want to explore. Okay. Um, this is a great place to start, and it'll ask you follow-up questions like, do you want to narrow this down, or what do you want to base this? It's like here, it's like on your salary needs, or if you want remote or in person. So it kind of prompts you to continue the conversation here. Um, and what I like to do is ask it some follow-up questions. So this is a great place. Again, you're like, what is the technical project manager? Like, I don't know. I've heard that role, like that name tossed around a lot, but I actually have no idea what a person who's a technical project manager is, right? So this is a great place to start your career exploration, is digging into some of this. Like, what skills are important? Like, what is the day-to-day actually like? How might someone transition into this type of role, with my background? So kind of having this ongoing conversation with the chatbot to get an idea, like, is this an avenue that you might want to explore? Okay. Great jumping off point. This is not where I would stop my career exploration. Okay. So, as a career coach, I always advocate like the people, the real humans who are doing this type of work that you're curious about. Those are the people that you want to have conversations with. Okay. But ChatGPT, great place to start to narrow down your focus if you're feeling overwhelmed. Okay. If you're like, I don't know what direction to go, you can use this to bring your focus in like, okay, here are like 5 or 10 job titles that are realistic for me that sound interesting to me based on my parameters. Now I'm going to go use other tools like LinkedIn to find people to have informational interviews with. Okay. And if you're curious about informational interviews, we have video on our YouTube and resources, I think, on our website to share about that. But definitely, this is a great jumping off point. Okay. Someone also shared in the chat that they've used ChatGPT to do some research on target companies. So once you have that list of roles you're curious about, you can also dive into what companies are out there and that are hiring based on what your skills are. So things about, companies in your area that frequently hire if you're a project management person, right? Companies that frequently hire project managers. Or I like this third one here that's about companies that hire people with XYZ skill that you have. You could ask questions based on company culture, like what are the top rated places for employee satisfaction? I want a 4-day work week, or I need like a remote first company. Which places around me are hiring? Places where you can kind of get like information based on company size. Michael gave that example of generating a table where actually you can say, like, give me a list of mid-sized companies known from promoting from within, generate a table where column one is the company name, column two, is the company's website, column three is like more information that you can find about like their company culture. And the ChatGPT will just spit out a table with all of that stuff and it will ask you if you want that in a downloadable format. Okay. So, really easy for integrating that into your kind of job search flow where you're like, here's a list of companies to explore. I can put that, maybe you're using a tool like Hunter or something like that to organize your job search. And all of these things can kind of integrate together. Again, great starting point, great jumping off point to get this list of companies that's realistic, it's narrowed down, it's places you're really interested in. Then it requires you to get out there, use your real human skills to connect with people who work at those companies. So this is kind of like the starting point, great jumping off point. But don't just stop here, right? Like get out there, meet people, try to get in and like meet people who work at these companies as ways to make connections and open opportunities. Okay. Oops. One other thing I really love to use ChatGPT for, like I mentioned, I have a hard time just writing. I get writer's block when I have to talk about myself. So a big part of your job search is sharing your why. You do that in your cover letters, you do that when you're interviewing, you do that in your LinkedIn. Why do you do what you do? What got you into that originally? Why do you care about transitioning into the industry you're trying to transition to? Um, Things like, what are you known for? Like, what do your colleagues say when they talk about what it's like to work with you? What projects have you really enjoyed? So, that's hard for me to write about. So I really love using ChatGPT as a way to just dump all of this content and then have it create kind of like a more concise narrative that I can then modify how I need to based on where I'm using that content. So I'll show you an example in just a second. But the great thing to do here is like just open a document and start brain dumping the answers to these questions. Write free flow. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry too much about spelling. Talk in your own voice. How do you say things? How do you talk about things? Just get going. Get all this content down on the page. And then you using your voice and the way you talk about things means that this is going to create a story that sounds like something that you would actually say. Okay. So, here's an example. Let me pull this up actually. So, apologize for the scrolling. So, here's an example. This was a student that I was working with, has a background in biology, studying data science, wants to make a transition to like combine those two things together, is really interested in animals. And so we just started talking. And as we were talking, I just started taking notes as he was talking. So verbatim, I'm trying to capture as much as he was saying, right? So things like, I have so much fun coding, I think machine learning could be a way to solve an unsolved problem, right? These are things that that person said. Um, I could take free data and use it to solve problems. That's really exciting to me. Here's like stories about kind of the research that this person has done. Okay. And so then what we did with this prompt that's on the slides is creating this compelling career story that explains my why. Okay. Giving some context. I want something that talks about my skills and XYZ. I'm currently seeking this type of role. Here's more information about me. And it spits out, like a narrative, right? Something that talks about, from your perspective, right? It's sharing that information in like a more concise way. So this could be a great jumping off point, right? If you're like, wow, this really does sound like me, and this really is what like how I'm feeling, great. You can use some of this content. You could, if there's some pieces in here that don't work, then you can ask the chatbot, hey, this is missing this type of thing. Could you make the tone more conversational? Could you include more information about my background in biology? Here's parts of my resume to help with that. So this is a back and forth as you're building out this content, but a really powerful, tool right here that then you can use this where you're like, oh, I really like this story. As someone like I was a kid that loved animals, and now I'm going to tell the story of how that curiosity got me going and how I think I can use data science to solve, problems with not problems, but just solve sort of like challenges in research. So definitely one of my favorite tools for using ChatGPT. And I think when you are just going and typing and talking in your own voice, that really helps avoid that generic kind of chatbot vibe. Because it's using your own words, right? You're talking in the way that you would if you were explaining yourself to people. So here's the prompt. We'll share the recording of this video out afterwards. So this should be accessible to everyone on here. But this is the prompt that I like to use. Okay, gonna make sure, I'm gonna speed up just a little bit because I want to make sure we save time for questions and answers. Another really great tool here is just to brainstorm skills and keywords. So you're pulling together job descriptions that you're applying for. I like to just collect them all into a big Google Doc. And then I'm going to input this prompt asking it to I'm tailoring my resume and I want you to analyze these job descriptions and pull out keywords and skills I should be emphasizing. Okay. Once you get those skills generated, that's what you're going to take the ones that apply to you. You put that in your comprehensive resume document. Okay. So as a job seeker, you're likely applying to different types of roles where I hope and encourage you to be tailoring your resume based on the different types of roles you're applying for. Using that comprehensive resume document, you can pick and choose the skills that make the most sense for each tailored resume. Okay. So I'll show you this real quick. I pulled financial analyst job descriptions. Let's copy and paste this stuff here. We'll put this into ChatGPT, start a new chat. And oops, scroll down here and get the prompt. I want you to analyze these things and let's see what it says. So it's just going to pull things kind of grouped by theme. So you're seeing, all of these skills, you're seeing stuff about strategic thinking, some of these kind of more soft skills like attention to detail, but also things that are specific to the industry. So you can go through and be like, oh yeah, I never thought about financial modeling. I'm not including that on my resume. I'm going to put that on my comprehensive resume as a reminder. Okay. So really great for just like combing through lots of different information, consolidating things, and then generating a list that you can use to make sure you're tailoring effectively. And then when we're thinking about, we take that step to your resume, okay? As you're refining your resume, do it step by step, right? It's what I talked about at the beginning. The more guidance you provide, the better. If you're using ChatGPT to just build your resume from scratch, you're going to get a really crappy resume that I don't think is going to be very effective. So instead of doing something like help me write a resume, right? This example is saying write 3 bullet points showcasing my leadership skills and project management. So build it piece by piece, okay? Um, with very specific prompts. And Teal, I talked about Teal earlier. It's one of those tools that's out there that incorporates AI into kind of helping job seekers. They have some really good ChatGPT prompts. So there's a link here in this slide. But things like go through, create a professional summary, right? You're doing that section by itself. You're copying the content of your resume minus the summary. So you're giving the tool some context to build that thing out. Revise my work experience, right? Begin each bullet point this way, focus on this thing, ensure each thing is concise. You're giving very specific instructions about how you want that to be created. Okay. So step by step, making sure you proofread at the end. Okay. And this is we just scratched the surface. I want to make sure that I save time for some questions. There are so many more ways that you can use this. You can do it mock interviews, salary negotiation, creating the calendar that you're using as a job seeker to effectively, like use your time throughout the week. So many different things. Would love to hear ideas in the chat for other ways that people are using ChatGPT. But I will stop sharing really quick and take a look at the chat to see if we got a question.
Yeah, Ruthie, we've got one question from Michael, and then it looks like we might maybe have a few more coming in.
Yeah. Okay, so I see Michael said, do you see a significant difference in output quality between free and paid versions of ChatGPT? That's a great question, and I actually don't know because I only ever use the free version. So I have experience using the paid version. The paid version has more kind of functionality. You can actually have a mock interview where it will talk to you as you're going through and it'll ask you questions and kind of evaluate you as an interviewer. So for sure, there's some different kind of like more things that you can do with that. But I don't actually know the difference between the output. That's a great question.
I can weigh in here because I actually have the paid version.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Um, Here's what I will say, Michael. I own two businesses, which is why I ended up getting the paid version. The biggest difference that I've noticed is it retains more history. So,
Mm,
like, I have a full branding document that I upload to like maintain my voice when I'm making marketing collateral and things like that. And it seems to stay on track more times than not. Although I still occasionally have to like prompt it, like, this is not me. This sounds like you. Try again.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
The other thing is it allows me to use it more frequently throughout the day. So at least for someone like myself, I do a lot of batch work. And so on the free version, I was just running out of capacity when I was working on like a big project and was using it as a way to kind of optimize what I was doing. So that in itself has really benefited. I'm really glad I did it. But those are the two things, at least for me, that I have seen the big differences. It knows who I am and replicates that, and then obviously more capacity.
Yeah. That's a great point. And I think that actually answers Jen's question too, which is since job descriptions seem to be long, I run out of allowed usage by midday. Is there anything I can do about this besides paying? So I do think that that paid version increases your capacity, Jen. Um, Okay.
When I
One thing I will say also is that what Brandy was mentioning about like ChatGPT sometimes not sounding like you can provide customized instructions. So if you click on your kind of your account, you can, I'm sure, just do like a search online to how to provide customized instructions to ChatGPT. But you can actually input like a bit about you, like this is the type of work I do, or I'm a job seeker looking for this kind of role. Like I like to talk in this kind of tone. You can give it examples for how you like to talk. So that can really help uh, with making sure that the output is sounding like you. Okay, time flies when you are having fun. I'm going to share my screen. If there are other questions that come up, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I am happy to continue the conversation. I know we don't have much time in these presentations. I want to make sure to share kind of what's coming up next with us. We try to run a free webinar each month. Next month's webinar is on June 5th at the same time. It's about building positive or job search resilience by keeping a positive mindset, which is something it's a big topic for me because it's hard when you're a job seeker to stay positive. So thinking about different tools we can use for that. If you're in person in the Portland area, come say hi to me on May 15th. I'll be at an event with Max List at the University of Portland on how to get a marketing job. And then the special offer for today for folks who are on this webinar. So the spring summer cohort of the Job Seekers Mastermind group is kicking off next week on Wednesday. So this is a program if you are looking for added support in your job search. It's an 8-week program where you get live coaching with a small group of 5 other job seekers. You get one-on-one coaching with me. You get access to our Job Search Jumpstart program, which is a weekly co-working or office hour session, accountability buddies, curated resources, private WhatsApp chat, just encouragement, support, community, all of these things that job seekers so often, feel isolated and discouraged. And this program is created to help you build momentum in a really supportive environment. My offer today is if you sign up for this cohort, you can have a complimentary 30-minute one-on-one coaching session with me, which is a $99 value. We have limited spots left. Again, we're starting next week on Wednesday. So that QR code will take you to my Calendly. If you're curious, you can schedule a 15-minute consultation in the next couple of days and we can talk, see if this feels like it's a good fit for you. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. There are lots of free resources on Talent's website. Like I said, we have a YouTube channel with recordings of all of our previous webinars. Brandy has a podcast with amazing information on it. And then we have our blog and lots of shared free resources on talentcareercoaching.com. So please do check that out and yeah, connect with us and would be happy to chat with people about AI or Job Seekers Mastermind or anything that's coming up for you as a job seeker. So I hope everyone has a great day and we'll see you at our next event.